Hey, everybody. We've had a request to look at a pro game with Cosmic Style. Luckily, my favorite YouTuber, Dr. Baduk, played such a game. So let's have a look. Cosmic Style is fun. We all like it. That's not true. AlphaGo doesn't like it so much. AlphaGo looks at it and go, "What's that? That's nothing. I'll just come in and take it all away." But for humans, it's still okay. We're looking at the Blackstones. That's Dr. Baduk. Let's look at some answers for black. A is a nice one. A continues to grow the moyo, and hard for white to come in the right, so we don't need that much defense. So A is popular. We see the pinch at B all the time. That's regular. We've seen Takamiya play C. Not a problem. And D, I remember that became popular in the 80s. Yes, back in the 80s, before there was electricity. Okay. He plays this one. I was a little surprised since it's gone out of fashion, but it's a perfectly good move. There's a particular Joseki that we play here. But let's notice something. Let's notice the width from the A1. I want that to be an A, just a second. From the A wall to the B stone. Not very wide. Now let's compare that to the way the game went. This is a very specific Joseki to go in this situation. I've seen it played 100 times. Black gets Sente and plays this way. So instead of the width to the A stone, we have the height to the A stone. That is to say, the bottom is a very big moyo, and it reaches all the way up to the 10th line of the A stone. So we simply transferred our moyo from the right to the bottom. And this is a commonplace in this situation. Okay, what's black want to do? Well, black would like to get height here, right? There's that big moyo. There's a couple ways of looking at it. Black could try a move like A, just jump out and make the moyo. But there's a more common method. Start with the shoulder head. Make sure white stays where he's supposed to. And then jump out. So black's very thin here, but he sure is getting a nice height for his moyo. And now he's got cuts all over the place. When I see this, I'm thinking I would be a little concerned. I wonder how Dr. Baduk is going to handle this. So if we look at the cuts, the cut at A hurts the B stone. We could care less about the B stone. That has nothing to do with our moyo. This cut at A separates the B and the C group. Well, that makes the left awfully good for white. That left just got real big. Well, we don't like that. So fixing that makes sense. The A cut and the B, now we're over in black's area. Black has many stones. The idea being that black can handle the fight in the A-B area, but not in the C area. So when he fixes this, It fixes the A stone, the A cut, right? It's a ladder now. Very much fixes the B side, or it doesn't fix it. It helps the B side. So the cut doesn't work at the moment. Yeah. And if he had gone the other way, well, now that's a cut in Sente. That's a big difference. Okay. So we get to here to this point, and it's kind of interesting thinking about, can you maneuver to know which cuts to save? When it's your move in your game, it's different somehow. It's very hard to take responsibility for your own moves and to think clearly. Anyway, so here we are. White comes in. When white cuts, we die, so we fix. He fixes here. It certainly works. If white tries this, we just kill the stone. That's a ladder. If white tries this, still a ladder. So it fixes the cuts and starts covering white from above. So it's a very more than one purpose move. Take the extension away. So what do we want to do? Now, the purpose of a moyo is seldom to make points. Oh, I have a moyo, I'm going to get a lot of points. That's rarely the case. 95% of the time or more, white is forced to come in so that you don't get them. And then you attack and get free points. Okay, so for instance, black to play. Black just picked up some points, and it's still black's move because white's got to defend. So that's what, 10, 15 points, and it's still black's move. Obviously not in a literal sense, but white's defending. How many points does white get? That's 0, right? So black's getting points, white's getting 0. And assuming the attack continues, black gets profit, white plays Dame, running out. Okay, so how do we continue? White's getting out, so we want to stop white. Let's look at the cap. Seems to be natural move. But notice there's that gap here. Right next to a meaningful cut. This is weak. Can't go this way. Just walk out. And now that black group is weak on the bottom left. So more like this. Still, this is a very weak situation. Black does, even if it doesn't work right now, it'll work later. So how do we surround if we can't do it gently? Do it violently. And this is kind of a rule. If you can't do it gently, do it violently. That's going to work. And if that doesn't work, don't do it at all. I'm making up a couple proverbs there, but hopefully you get the point. And notice, this move is stronger. It saves the cut, right? We get to kill now. But it also lets white out. So he would prefer, he'd prefer to play this way. That's the surrounding move. But it's just awfully weak. So this is the next best, and it's a really good threat for surrounding. Hane and descend to get those points and to stop white from living down there. Okay, sometimes you have to come back and fix. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you can jump out. Sometimes you can Hane. When do we Hane? Anytime you can. Hane is the kind of move that surrounds, reaches out, grows. Hane is a powerful move. And according to Dr. Baduk, it works here. And we'll see white trying to fight against it, and we'll see if it works, why it works, things like this. Okay. Let's look at some moves. Saves the cut. Very helpful in this department, right? I'm making up some moves, but you see black has played stronger to save this area. So that's a nice, strong move. And assuming white gets out, we can now start building the left and things like this. Okay, so this makes sense. We're having a strong enough group and this and that. If we were weaker, we might just save a cut. Well, what if the opposite is true? What if white's weaker? Well, double Hane. That's getting powerful. As long as you can withstand the fight, which we can, and we'll see this in a minute. Is there a more powerful move than the double Hane? Yes, there is. Everyone's shouting out the name of the move right now. It's the cut. If you can cut. He is split. That's the most violent, aggressive move you can make. And if you're in a position to do so, which is a hard thing to know, then do it. Let's see how it goes. I got to tell you, I wouldn't make this move. I might double Hane. Knowing me, I'd probably play this and say, it's hard for you to get out. Now I'm going to take the left. Okay. The cut. That's bold. Fix. Out. Atari. Okay. He read this all out. Let's talk about reading for a moment. I did this in an earlier video, and it's a very silly thing to show, but there's a principle involved I want to look at. Black to play. Can black live? And everyone says, that's silly. Of course not. And then my response is, you mean you read out 40 moves that fast? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 19 lines long times 2 players. Virtually 40 move readout in probably less than a second. How can this be done? Because you're familiar with it. Have you ever asked a beginner this question? They don't know the answer. They're not familiar with it yet. But you do know it because it's one of the simpler readouts. Now, a harder readout is, well, what about this one? We don't have to wait for the end. We can catch him earlier. But maybe you pause for a second and go, oh, let me think just a second. Let me read it out. Okay, it's clear now. It might have taken you 2 seconds instead of half a second. Depends on what you're familiar with. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a story about my reading. I've never read well, but I read a bit quirky. Yes, I said quirky. So one day I walk into the San Francisco Go Club. We're going back when I was 5 Dan, so a solid 40 years ago. And at that point, there were a couple well-known players. Maybe I can name one because he's passed on now for sure. Dr. Kim. Oh, was he respected? Well-respected 6 Dan. Back then, you don't get above 6 Dan on an amateur level. It just wasn't heard of. Very well respected. He's there. The other Kim, also 6 Dan, was there. 2, 3, 5 Dan sitting around. Everyone's watching the game. The game's being played between a 4 Dan and a 5 Dan. And Dr. Kim and the other 6 down, they're all watching, and there's, let's say 6 people. I walk in going, oh, must be an exciting game. I walk over, and within 5 seconds, this is going to sound arrogant, you're going to have to forgive me, but there was not a doubt in my mind that I was the only one in the room that knew what was going on. Why? Because it was a quirky readout, something I read out quickly with complete confidence, but it had my kind of name on it. It was a quirky readout that most people don't get there. So we were all watching, the game ends, and they start the review. And as the review goes forward, I point out, you could have lived by doing such and such. And Dr. Kim, the one everyone respects, no. So I say, yes, if you play here, black lives. No. Yes, you play here, black lives. Dr. Kim looks and looks. Oh, yes, 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 yes. He never would have seen the board that way. It's a quirky way of looking at it. So he walks away saying, yes, yes, yes. All the other players look and try to find it. One by one, they're finding it. Finally, the 4-don says, show me, show me. He cannot find it. So I played it out for him. Oh. But it was because that's the kind of thing I was familiar with. And they weren't. Okay, so reading has a great deal to do with what you're familiar with. Forgive my story. I thought it was a fun one. Okay, so when Dr. Baduk starts in here, he's looking ahead, right? He knows, okay, we can do this way, we can go that way. And here, I can't read that out. That's how many cuts? There's cuts everywhere. Life and death issues. Each little part has its own weakness. Give me a day. Maybe I'll get through it. Who knows? To him, it's probably a 15-second go. He's just, yeah, I know that one. That's an easy read. His opponent, not so easy. Okay, here we go. That was a long, rambling story. We're back. Fix. Got to get the cutting stone out, which he had read, obviously. Boom, boom. Sorry. He'd all this read out. Now you can look at his face, and I can, learn how to read these things out. He'd come this far and seen the health of this black group that he's just now saving. You can see how much room there is on the left and how we're getting sort of a base. It's not a base, but it's a platform to work with the left. That's ladder works for white now. Cut. Gotta get out, fix. Atari. Got to get that group in order. Save, Incente, connect, out. Okay. So I don't personally believe he read clearly to this point and saw this position in his head, but rather he's thinking, oh yeah, the A side, I got all that going on. That should be fine. He recognized that shape. Then we have the B group is 1, 2, it has 4 liberties. He's like, yeah, there's room. There's room. So he read out bits and pieces and recognized things. Okay, let's continue. And I mentioned that for a moyo, that means you're fighting. He has to come in or lose the game because it's a big moyo. And then you attack and get points in Sente. Look at the right. How many points black's getting? Now, for the first time, white's out. First time. White is officially out. Black checks his A group. Yeah, looking good. And so he takes his new sente and goes plays a big move, pretty much creating a new moyo area. Now, it's not as big as the old one, but it's a nice size area. Not sente. But if white doesn't do it, in the upcoming fight, it's still an eyeless group. It's still trouble. Maybe not eyeless, one eye. White's quite uncomfortable, so white fixes that. And it's big. Black doesn't want white taking that top area, so comes in. We've looked at this move before. And settle. White says, well, this is my area. I have the right to attack you. You're right. I'll just defend myself. And then we go down to make our second eye. And let's look at the state of the black group. Black has an eye at A. That stone can't escape. Black can get a second eye at B or C, or perhaps in the D area, and perhaps in the E area. A lot of potential eyes coming up. So he's not feeling too weak here. So he plays away. Defends his group, hassles that stone on top. Plays away. That takes some courage in your own game. Looking, going, oh, I better respond. Well, spend a moment. What can you read out? And you look, you go, well, I have one eye, and I can get a second eye in a couple different spots. So play away again. That's big to play away. White tries to live over here. We can take the corner with A. We can take the outside at B. We can do severe attacks at C. He played, this is outside move like the other one. And that's a big outside. And in sente. And only a few more moves in the game. Tari, connect. Second eyes, it's, yeah, can't take the second eye away. But still, the cut's big. And now those two white stones are dead. Black's alive. And I think white tries one more move and then resigns. Okay, we got to see a moyo. How the moyo shifted from the right to the bottom. White's forced to come in. We attack to get free points. Now, one thing just at the end here, something I've showed you before, but I want to show you again. We're going to look at the 9-stone game. And we'll just do a quick little Joseki. Black has created approximately 6 points, 6, 7, 8 points. White's created approximately 6, 7, 8 points. Equitable. Black hasn't necessarily, this is not the way to play handicap go. We haven't punished white for invading black's area, which happens to be the whole board. So instead, white comes in. We need to say, and this is all about free points. We have to say, no, I'm going to attack you. Well, the two attacking moves, A, well, let's go through it a little bit. White can go to the corner, side, or center. So there's 3 directions we can stop. Well, we all know corner first. So we can stop white at A, which is not a forcing move. And then white can do anything he wants. He can give up the stone, he can walk away, lots of freedom. And A, we won't look at it now. It's kind of a small corner, actually extremely small corner, not worth taking. We'll look at that another time. Or we can play B, a forcing move. So let's look briefly at why it's a forcing move. Black will have white just pass. I was going to put white somewhere. Now, notice white has freedoms here. This white's doing fine. Now let's look at the forcing move. Oh, we are pounced on that stone like nobody's business. White is almost dead. It's so severe. That's why this is a forcing move, because you touch it, force the issue, press him hard. White comes up. Now black's behind enemy line, so he plays defensive. He hasn't tried to take any points yet. White's trying to get a group to attack. We're either going to remove the center or side. Let's remove the side, because corner, side, center. White tries to run out. The black group is once again behind enemy lines. Let's stop white from surrounding us in an aggressive fashion. White has a 2-space gap. We're right on the 2-space gap. White says, I better defend. And now let's look at the point at the board. How many points has white created? 0. How many points has black created? Way more than 0. Yet black has not tried to make even 1 point yet. So free points come from attacking. So this is what we saw in the game. Black kept getting free points. And finally, white got out. And it's always gote, because white's the one having to defend. So now it's black's move. He took a sente and made good points with it. Okay, good. I stumbled through some of that, but hopefully it made some sense. You got to see some principles. And we will catch you all in the next video. Okay, bye.